Imagine for a few minutes, I lock up this beautiful hall.
Bolt all the doors, including the emergency exit. And only I retain the discretion to decide who gets to move out. Well, until you didn't sign up to spend your life here, or that your home is an ugly place which says run away, you would naturally not like this imprisonment. But there's an escape like there always is. In one of the walls, there's a hole, but only small enough for the thin and lean ones amongst us to escape. And if you are of my body size, you'll definitely not make it through. So, the real question remains, why should I have power over your movement?
Why should I decide anything for you? Why should you need my certificate? You came here by your choice.
By paying the required ticket fees to learn about an idea worth spreading. Right? Wonderful questions indeed. Well, those are the same questions millions of children trapped in a dull schooling model are asking us today. The goal of learning and education that they signed up for have been sabotaged by experts who tell them they must get through that narrow hole in order to pass through this process. That narrow hole in the wall is the examination system of the education model, which is designed to suit only a very small group of people, not with better traits than my body weight. Do we remember this picture? The 2015 Bihar cheating scandal, where parents climbed walls to help their children cheat in the state matriculation exams. Well, they flew paper planes and smuggled chits to make sure the biodatas of their children were polished. Or as CNN reported, the quest to be educated in India has literally scaled new heights. The picture went viral on social media and global opinions poured in, like experts always do. And there were stringent demands to take action against these children. And as a result, many hundreds were arrested and expelled. And this was designated a big blot on the face of Bihar's education reputation, which we can mutually agree was anyways not very high. However, for me, these children are not culprits, not those devils and demons who defame an already struggling education board. They are in fact the single most powerful evidence against the current schooling regime, the most noteworthy referendum against the examination system. Aren't they? Well, the examination system cannot fail these children because it cannot. It derives its legitimacy from these very children. It is in fact the children who fail the examination system. And cheating as we know it is an open secret in India. So much so that once after vandalizing CCTV cameras in Islampur of West Bengal, children complained to reporters. Invigilation was just too strict. You of course get the message right. However, cheating is one of the most creative exercises children indulge during their schooling. It requires real problem solving, real collaboration, and a lot of courage, of course. However, it is a careful art, unfortunately. Well, coming back to the picture, if we use it to judge the morality of children whom we'll never possibly meet and never know about their situations, and instead decided to use the very same picture to judge the morality of an examination system which we are very well familiar with, we'll discover how hollow its claims of holistic learning are. The question paper of these children never asked them to think anything. It never asked them to think beyond those very defined parameters, because if it ever did, there will be no correct answers. And if there are no correct answers, how do you cheat in an exam? Our exams being deceivable is a very loud statement. That by hiding a few notes, formulas, or maybe a few definitions under your unusually high puff socks or sleeves, you can fail a system. Well, that is how failed it is. It is only a hollow assessment of who writes faster, who remembers better under those stressful exam conditions. Imagine if the question paper of these children simply asked them to write down the most beautiful learning of their year. Will they ever cheat in such an exam? You might ask, what about the curriculum? The history they must know, the science they must digest, and the basic arithmetic that is required in life. I have very firm beliefs. You only have to teach what does not matter in life, because everything else can simply be learnt while living life, can't it be? Well, maybe it is also the time that we start abandoning some of those assumptions we've had about schooling and really start taking feedback of our children. What are their expectations of schooling? What do they demand from their education? Maybe those are difficult questions which we are not prepared to answer. Well, it's the reason why these children took the risk to cheat, despite knowing it has very serious consequences, is because they've lost all the trust they had over the system. Imagine yourself wasting one full year trying to calibrate yourself to a particular examination system and then learning that your fate will be decided by an equally flawed human being, a human being who's paid less than $50 per answer sheet she checks, a human being who checks it in reference to a preset standardized key, a key which you cannot even question. It is very natural that your faith in the system begins to erode. And what about those learnings this system calls informal? Those beautiful conversations you had during the lunch break, those heartbreaks and the deep connections you forged with your teacher. Did that not contribute to the wonderful person you've become? But will that paper which claims to tell everything about you, everything that you did throughout the year, ever tell about those beautiful things? Well, it would never. Guess why? The schooling system was never designed for this. It was not even designed to create clerks for the British system, as we generally presume. Then take a guess again. What was it built for? It was designed in response to Prussia's defeat at the hands of Napoleon. Yes, the system was designed to create soldiers who would abandon their creative capacities and become homogeneous pawns of a war machinery. Even the much romanticized four closely related option test or the standardized multiple option tests were first tested on potential army recruits during the First World War by the US. Close to 100 years. We are still subjecting our children to the very same military torture. The only difference being, instead of the global war machinery, they're being trained to become part of the global corporate machinery. Not much of a difference really. And then if we use the system to judge the expectations of the parents, we will discover how learning and education have ceased to be a goal in itself at all. When was the last time that your kid returned from a test and you asked, "What did you learn today?" Perhaps that seems a very illogical question when your child will be evaluated based on how much she scored, isn't it? Well, the moment you ask, "How much did you score?" you have lowered the goalpost. You've told our children what matters and what doesn't. And when you define learning in terms of very narrow things, things that perhaps don't even matter in life, then who is being unethical, our children or we? The other reason I argue why children cheat is because their maths is right. The rewards far exceed the risk. Do we remember the 95% cutoffs and the 99% cutoffs? It is far unrealistic for at least human progenies to try and achieve those cutoffs. And if ever our children decided to be a little too honest and scored a modest 80%, they'll land up in colleges very similar to the ones they have been trying to escape. Our inability to provide meaningful learning spaces is branded as these children's inability to not be competitive enough. Well, another interesting observation I have to share with you. For quite some time I believed invigilation in exams was the easiest thing for an educator to do. You just had to stand and stare at what everybody else was doing, isn't it? Well, until an educator of mine told it was the difficult thing to do for an educator. Guess how? Because you need to be suspicious of your own children. You need to doubt their own integrity. Consider the absurdity of this whole exercise. Educators who took full salaries for 12 months, who consumed 12 invaluable years of your children's lives, wouldn't trust them. Why otherwise would they move like Nazi inspectors as your children are expected to demonstrate their learnings? There could be two fine cases. Either you didn't teach anything worth of demonstration at all, or you made our children into such dishonest human beings that they will breach trust at every available opportunity. And do not be mistaken, these are the same children who will control essential public services, children who are going to create wars and save lives. But because we've told them they're guilty until proven innocent, that they must establish their innocence even while they raise a finger or two in the exam by mistake, that their own conscience is dead, that they cannot be trusted for their own learning process, let alone anything else. Well, the radical perspective here is it is not the evaluation system that is broken, but the very perception about learning. Think of important tasks in life that do not require a certificate from authority, like a 17-year-old Yash Raj doing pure scientific research and getting a Bajra filter patented to his name. A 16-year-old Anushk, another friend of mine, who built an Apple awarded app to help people sleep better. Or me writing a book about the education system. I never needed an authority to say, you've done very well. But still, do you think, will I try to fraud with my book? Well, no. We engage in these processes because we find meaning and joy in them. Can education also become such a process? Something that is not done to children, but done by children. A friend of mine, Manish Jain, and the co-founder of Swaraj University, a radical alternative in Udaipur, writes in his foreword for my book, if you can have 150 different brands of toothpaste, then why just one dull learning system for millions of children on this planet? Isn't it a very legitimate question? We should be asking ourselves. Well, my proposal is, in the age of private franchisee schools, can our schools not be like restaurants? You come to it only when you feel like, you consume the food that you most like, eat as much as you want to, pay for what you eat, and simply exit when you stop liking the manager's face. Or rather, change the restaurant when you are bored with the food. Well, doesn't that happen when we use libraries, we are at internet researches, or maybe watching a movie? When was the last time that you went to a theatre and a policeman stood at the exit of the theatre and refused to let you out until you answered his quiz about the movie? Well, you came not with the policeman's certificate. You came for yourself, and you have all the right to exit when you feel like, isn't it? Well, lastly, children cheat not because they are not trustworthy, but because the system is not children-worthy. So next time when your child returns from a test and is caught cheating, do ask yourself, is my child cheating in the exam? Or is the exam cheating my child in life? Thank you.